It took me 2 years to make my first $10,000 online. And then it took me 2 months after that to make my first $20,000. This video, I'm going to explain what the best business model is to start if you're a beginner, what the 4 keys to online business are. And at the end, I'm going to be sharing what I think is the biggest and best opportunity in online business today. So let's dive into the whiteboard of liberty and truth and justice. So a lot of beginners make the mistake of choosing the wrong vehicle as they start. And what a lot of people don't know is they don't understand the time it takes to get to profitability of any online business. So what I did when I was starting out was I thought, I really like technology, so let me start a tech company. What you got to realize about starting a tech company is that tech startups are not profitable for about 3 to 5 years. All of their money goes into developing technology, developing IP, hiring software engineers, and they typically look like a SaaS revenue model where they have some type of monthly recurring payment. And the whole time of trying to find product market fit, there's constant customer churn, constant customer turnover. So if you look at any company like Zoom, Slack, Spotify, Shopify, what you'll notice is that they typically have about 3 to 5 years of being unprofitable. That means they are under the water. And because tech entrepreneurs know that this is on the horizon, what most of them do is they go to venture capitalists and they raise money from the start so that they're not just bleeding the whole way through, even though they're bleeding somebody else's money. Okay. So if you're starting out and you're looking at business models, what you got to realize about this tech business model is that you are going to be severely unprofitable, very, very low cash flow, and you are going to have a lot of downside right from the start. Okay. Now, the advantage of doing this is by pouring all this capital and time and money and manpower into these technology businesses. What you actually do if you have a unique product and it solves a real problem, is over time, you create this giant moat. And a moat is essentially protection from competition. And you look at a store like Amazon that has been building for 8 years. I've talked about this in the past, but Amazon was not profitable for 8 years. And the whole time they were unprofitable, they were building out the infrastructure for their warehouses and for their whole entire supply chain. And so after those 8 years of unprofitability, they essentially created this structure in the market that was dominant and that nobody could take in because they poured so much money and time into their own moat. Okay. So that is the big advantage of starting a tech company. You essentially find product market fit and customers start coming in, your churn decreases. And over time, a lot of the upside is on the equity. And you look at exits for these tech companies and they sell at like 10 times multiples. So, if you're making 10 million in revenue a year for some kind of tech startup, you could potentially sell that for something like a 10x multiple, and you could have $100 million exit. And that's where all kind of the advanced players are playing right now. And that is where, we really go to like $100 million net worth. But this business model is not suitable for beginners. And it's because you don't have deep pockets. You don't know how to raise money. You don't know how to recruit software engineers. And this is generally a very, very difficult business. And I really had a hard time wrapping my head around, being ready to start one of these kinds of businesses. Because when I started out in business, this is what I thought I wanted for sure. And I thought I could do it. But I really underestimated the fact of time and of the resources that it would take to do a company like this. Okay. So this is tech. And when you're starting out, generally what you want is you want high profit margins from the beginning and you want immediate cash flow. So instead of having your curve looking like one of these tech market curves, what you actually want is the polar opposite where you have high cash flow from the start and you're able to save some of this cash flow and really just start a cash cow business. And this is why I like info products so much, because info products are essentially based on expertise, and all you need is a few pieces of software to patch up together a solution or some type of consulting offer, and you are immediately profitable from the start. You can scale these businesses to hundreds of thousands of dollars a month. You look at things like Sam Ovens consulting.com, he scaled an info consulting business to $36 million a year. Okay. He had a whole team of people. He had an office, and this was all an entire cash cow type of business. Okay. But the problem with information businesses is that because info is everywhere and it's super abundant online, a lot of the time, if you have a successful product in the info space, what you'll see is you'll see competition creeping in and they'll just start copying your product. When somebody starts copying your product, that's how you know you've kind of reached your limit of market saturation, or you just have a really good product product. But the problem is you don't have a specific moat other than your intellectual property, which somebody could just steal from you and spread out online, and your personal brand, which is people who like to follow you. So to carve your niche out and to carve your moat out around info product space, it really is based on your personal brand and your information. Okay. It's also could be potentially based on your offer, which we'll get into in kind of the next part of this video. Okay. So what you see a lot of people do, like Sam Ovens, for example, is he had consulting.com where he scaled his info product to, I think it was 36 million at its peak. And then he scaled it down to maybe 12 million a year so that he had higher profit margins. But what he did was he jumped from info into technology. And so essentially what he did was he used his info cash cow to fund the technology company that he was starting off during the unprofitable phases. And so now he's reached his critical mass where he's finally starting to reach profitability because he's done things like influencer marketing with Alex Hormozi. And now they're going to go to a point where the valuation of this company is just going to skyrocket. Okay, so that's what a lot of other people do. Alex Becker did this with Market Hero and his Hyros ad software. So Market Hero was essentially an email marketing course. He used course sales to fund Hyros, which is his ad tracking software. And he's doing the same thing. He recently exited for $100 million, pretty much, at the peak of this software valuation. And you might say, okay, that's great. I get it. I need to start an info product business, but what does that actually look like? And when I finally understood that the info product business was the best business model to start from the beginning, what I realized was that there's really 4 key things to run a profitable info product business. And once you've solved these 4 things, you're good. And I'm not saying that I'm an expert in all these 4 things, because I'm certainly not, but this is just what I've learned through the past few years of figuring out this online business space in general. Okay. So the first thing that you're going to need is traffic. Okay. And there's really 2 ways to get traffic, and it's not that complicated. You can either pay for it with money, or you can pay for it with time. And so within the money area, you pretty much have things like paid ads. You can also pay influencers. So do influencer marketing, right? Or if you have time, you can do things like outreach. Okay. Or you can do things like organic content, like I'm doing right now. So YouTube. And then the question becomes, which traffic strategy should you use for your offer? And I'm going to give you an example of what I used to do when I was working in tech. So when I was working in tech, I used to have an outreach method. And what I did was I created a warboard. And the warboard essentially listed all of the customers' names, email addresses, any kind of information about the customer. And I would go down this warboard one by one and reach out to them via email. And I would follow up with them like 5 to 7 times. And I would continue to follow up with them weekly. And this was a very effective strategy because the customers that we got from the efforts of me doing this were worth millions and millions of dollars a piece. And this is one key metric that you want to pay attention to is LTV. So what is your lifetime value of your customer? And that's going to really guide your traffic methods and how you get traffic. Okay. So let's say, for example, you're selling a low ticket $50 product. Okay. Low ticket $50 product. And every day you spend 1 hour reaching out to customers. And let's say you get 25 customers to buy in, 1 month. I would say that's reasonable. So that means you're going to get a gross of $1,250 for 1 month. And you essentially spent 30 hours searching for your customers. So you really just need to do the math here. Okay. So you're getting $1,250 and you divide that by 30. And so what you're getting right here is you're getting a $42 per hour kind of rate of customer acquisition. Okay. So for every hour that you spent reaching out to customers, it was worth about $42 based upon the revenue that you brought in with this low ticket product. Now imagine instead of selling a $50 low ticket product, you sell a $5K one-time offer. Okay. And you spend the same 30 hours a month getting 1 customer for that offer. Okay. So the math here is simple. Your revenue, instead of $1,250, it becomes $5,000 because you just have 1 offer and you're looking for 1 customer, even though you still spent the same amount of time outreaching on customers. And then you just have to do the math again to calculate your hourly rate. So that's $5,000 divided by 30 hours, and it's 166. So Here, your effort is worth $166 per hour. And so that is quadruple your time of acquiring customers for this low ticket product. And this really leads to my point, which is you really have to look at your offer, your time, and your price in order to figure out what the best traffic strategy is for you. And a lot of the times it's going to be kind of back of the napkin math. But in this case, where when you're reaching out an hour a day and you're either selling 25 people into a low ticket product or one person into a 5K product, there's really no question that you want to focus on the $166 per hour customer acquisition strategy. And so potentially for a 5K high ticket offer, a cold outreach campaign could make a lot of sense. So the next thing in online business is it's going to be your offer. And I've talked about this in the past, and I'm going to continue to talk about it, but an offer is essentially just a solution to any kind of problem. And in the info product world, in the consulting world, in the online business world, the best place to start is really delivering a service, because it's the easiest place to start and you can charge a high ticket for it and you can get to profitability really quickly, like I showed in the last graph. Okay. And services are things like writing. You can be a ghostwriter. You can do design. You can design landing pages. You can design websites. With this service offer, you can have one skill and find somebody who needs that skill and either doesn't know how to do it or doesn't have the time to do it. They pay you a high ticket and you get to profitability really quick. This is where most people start out. And this is like where agencies fall into the realm. And this is where freelancers work as well. So, the problem with services is that they don't have a high form of leverage. Okay. Now you can start an agency, and you see so many people starting agencies these days because it's so easy to get off the ground. And in the agency model, the two forms of leverage that you have are people, and capital. Okay. So Naval Ravikant had this tweet where he talks about these different forms of leverage, and he essentially breaks it down into 4 key forms of leverage. That's going to be code, content, capital, and people. Okay. People and capital are actually the lowest form of leverage. So in an agency model, because you're selling your service for money, really the only 2 ways to scale here are: one, you hire more people to deliver more work. Okay. That's how you can get more clients and how you can kind of take yourself out of the business, is you just hire somebody else that will do the job for you. Okay. And the other thing is you can also scale your capital by getting bigger and better clients, but in proportional to selling them, you also get more work. And so ultimately these 2 things are still tied to your time. And I'm actually in this agency model right now, and I don't mind it. I don't mind that some of my time is tied to my revenue. But what I have found is that there is a way that you can get around this, and there is a way that you can create more leverage around this agency service model, so that you kind of break that connection between your time and your effort. And the way that I've done this is I've just created revenue share partnerships that are win-win-win deals with people with bigger influencers, so that they get more money, I get more money, and the customers win as well. And by creating partnerships, it aligns everybody's incentive in the same direction. And by doing the revenue share negotiations, your revenue is actually tied on the outcome of your work instead of purely your time for the service. And so a lot of times in partnerships, you're going to have to bring more to the table than just one skill. And what I do is I bundle together a lot of high valuable skills, and I bring that to the table as a partner, so that I'm not just somebody who, comes into a business and does some video editing like I used to do for money. Now I'm somebody who actually comes in and can really move the needle for a business through copywriting and landing page design and marketing and sales and conversion events and webinars and writing VSL scripts. And when you have all these bundles of skills together, it gives you a lot more leverage to come to the table with a partnership agreement versus something like a simple offer, like a done for you kind of service like writing. So I also want to talk about the evolution of your offer over time. And I was talking to a good friend about this earlier today. But essentially, a lot of people get confused about when they should scale and when they should focus on things that don't scale versus when they should focus on things that do scale. And if you look at a lot of entrepreneurs, their typical route is they start as some kind of service-based industry. Okay, like I said, it's the easiest way to get your foot in the door. It's the easiest way to make your first 100 $10,000 online, $100,000 online. Essentially, you start with a service-based option, and then that kind of transforms into something that is like a consulting done with you type of offer. Okay. And when it's done with you, that means you're not doing a lot of the services and you're actually just spending your time on calls and you're spending your time guiding them instead of actually doing the groundwork yourself. Okay. And that is how you jump to a more leveraged offer. And you can actually play in between this area. And this is typically in the high ticket space, right? So you can have a combination of services and done with you consulting and craft a pretty unique offer that somebody could really want and pay a lot of money for. But then, eventually these people get so many clients and they don't really even have enough time to do one-on-ones with anybody. And so from this done with you service and consulting service, so what they actually do is they move to a do-it-yourself service. And this in the info product world looks at things like courses. Okay. And so what a lot of people don't understand is they try to build out a course, but the problem is they don't have the demand for a course. They haven't built up this service. They haven't built up this consulting. They don't really have a wide client base to choose from. And so their demand supply equation is all fucked up. And then when they launch a course, they don't have anybody to buy it. All right, so I just discussed traffic and offer, but really in order to get people to buy your offer, what you need to understand conversions. And conversions happen at each point of the sales cycle. And a conversion event is essentially anything that you do to get your customer to take the next step with you. So conversion events could be things like a lead magnet where somebody opts into a landing page, a DM where you just simply message somebody in their direct messages, could be a video sales letter, it could be a sales page. And you need to create a conversion event so that your customer will take the action that you want them to take. And these conversion events are really a good opportunity for you to provide value to your customers so that they trust that you know what you're saying, and then they make the move that you want them to make, which is ultimately ascending up your value ladder and getting closer towards buying that product. Okay. So you can have really big conversion events that make a huge difference in your revenue. And one example of this is webinars. And I've ran, a lot of webinars in my past. I ran a lot of webinars when I was in tech, and I've ran webinars in the info product space. And actually just last week, I took a client and I ran him through a webinar and we made 10K each webinar. So if people are telling you that webinars don't work, I just wouldn't listen to them because we just made 20K in a week from a webinar. Okay. For the webinar, it's pretty simple, right? You have your traffic and you drive it to a webinar sign up page. And this is just going to be like an opt-in. And then after your opt-in, you have a headline on your opt-in, you have a sub headline. Then after your opt-in, you're going to have a thank you page. And that thank you page is going to tell this person what time the webinar is at. It's going to tell them how they can enroll. And when this person opts in, it's also going to trigger a series of email sequences that goes to the customer to make sure that they show up. And really the whole point of the thank you page and the email sequence is so that the customers go to your event when you're speaking on your webinar. Okay. And then in your webinar, what you're going to do is you essentially introduce yourself, you tell your backstory, you tell about how you found the vehicle that you're going to speak about, and then you teach 3 key points which tend to break customers' limiting beliefs around a product. And then the last 15 minutes is a pitch. And this webinar is a conversion event because you drive traffic to this event. You get people to trust you and to like you. You give them value by teaching to them, and then you throw out an offer for them if they want to join you and come dive deeper. And this can result in a lot of money. Okay. So you want to think about what are the conversion events in your business? And these conversion events are really going to be based upon what ticket price you're selling at. So typically for like a low ticket, which is something that's less than $1,000, a lot of the times all you need is a really well-crafted sales page to convert somebody that is convincing. And if you have a legit headline and you have a promise and you have a low ticket offer that's below $100, it's really not that hard to get somebody to buy it because you really don't need a lot of trust because people aren't putting a lot of trust in just $100 ticket program. But on the other side, when you have something like a high ticket program, you need a lot more trust and reliability, and you really need to guide that person a lot more directly to get them to buy your thing. So let's say you're selling a 5K offer. What you're typically going to do is you're going to have to jump on a sales call with them, and you're going to need to learn sales. You're going to need to learn how to close that person so that they like you, buy you, or so that they like you and will ultimately buy from you. And so it's like the higher level price that your product is, the higher level trust that you have. So sales pages are good for low ticket products. Sales calls are good for high ticket products. Things like webinars are good for mid ticket products, or anything really in the $500 to $5,000 range. And it really just depends on how much trust do you need in order to convert that person. Now, I want to talk about scaling conversion. And what I've noticed is that a lot of the most successful online businesses, they have one offer, they have one funnel, they have one traffic source, and they really just double down on each of these things. And typically how people start out is they test a lot of different funnels, they test a lot of different traffic sources, they test a lot of different offers, their things are kind of all over the place. But then when they find one that works, they really double down on it and they really optimize it to like the 100th or 1000th degree. And when you find like a landing page that works and that is converting consistently and clearly outperforms any of the other landing pages that you have, what you want to do is you want to start split testing. And that means split testing things like the headlines and the sub headlines. You can be split testing the videos, you can split test the design, you can split test the entire copy. And that is really how people scale, is they have like one funnel, they have one conversion metric, and then they split test very specific messages, very specific designs, hooks, headlines, things like that. And they really focus on a granular level of detail until they have everything optimized, and completely maxed out. And so that's really how I think you scale. But I think for most beginners, you should just try to start out what offer is working, what funnel is working, and what traffic sources are working first. And you kind of do that by having a scattered shot approach. Okay. So for example, my traffic sources right now are going to be YouTube and X. And this is X organic and YouTube. And like I mentioned, I'm also doing some cold outreach. Okay. The funnel that I use is essentially a community funnel. I have a community funnel. I also have a lead squeeze funnel, lead magnet funnel. I also have a organic funnel, which is essentially YouTube, book a call with me through YouTube. And on my offer, I have one offer right now. It is my community offer, community accelerator offer. Okay. And so right now what I'm doing is I'm testing out all these funnels. I'm testing out all these traffic sources, and I'm trying to figure out, okay, what is going to get me the best results? And after I find that one funnel, that one traffic source, that one offer that is working clearly better than the rest based upon the data that I see, I'm going to double down on that hardcore. And then I'm going to split test things like the landing pages, copywriting, messaging, naming, unique mechanisms, and really my entire marketing message so that it resonates and I can really optimize the ROI on that conversion. Okay. Okay, so the last thing, and certainly not least important, is the delivery. And this is really, really, really key to long-term success. See, most marketers, when they sell the product, their job is over. Okay. And that is just not a good thing to have in your head, because ultimately when you sell somebody, you then have an obligation to deliver that to them and then help them. And you actually want to be able to deliver the result that you promised. And that's really the most important thing. You have a bold promise that you're going to give to your customer, and that is why they buy, because that is the thing that they want in their life. And so your delivery is essentially just backing up the promise that you made. And you really, really want to make sure that you can do this. Otherwise, you're going to have a very damaged reputation. You're going to not have any happy customers. And it's ultimately just going to result in a terrible business, and it won't be sustainable long term. And really, when your delivery is about getting customers results, okay? So when you get customers the results that you promised in your headline, you can actually use their testimonials, use their case studies as your marketing. And I just did this recently where I had a big success with my customer. I turned it into a case study. I turned that case study into a lead magnet. And now that lead magnet funnels into my community funnel, and that ultimately funnels into my higher ticket offer. Okay. And so if you want to succeed long term, you really want to have a good product. You want to have good results. And this is all about delivery. And you might ask, okay, well, how can I actually deliver a good info product service business, whatever you're doing in the info product space? What I found is that the best delivery really comes down to two things. And the first thing is results. Okay. That is the biggest thing. Do not forget the results. That is key for long-term success. That is what I'm focused on 100% right now, is results for my clients. Okay, but the other thing is also like, you want to make your customers just feel good. You want to make them feel like they're being taken care of. And you can actually do this by just going the extra mile. And most people don't do this, okay? Most people don't go the extra mile because it's hard, right? It's not easy to go the extra mile. And you look at people like Andy Frisella, who started First Form, which was a supplements company. And he actually started out by writing handwritten letters and sending them to their customers. And that's going to build a lot of trust. It's going to build a lot of loyalty. And it's really going that extra mile. It makes them feel good. It makes them feel like this is not just transactional. This is actually personal. You actually want to help them. And when you increase loyalty like that, the truth is these customers are more likely to buy something from you in the future as well. And so this feeling is a really big part of it. And I've underestimated for sure. This is something that I actually believe that you can use and we can use together to really stand out in the market and separate ourselves from competition. And it does take a little bit more extra time. It does take a little bit more extra work, but it's totally worth it. Okay, so now that you know really the 4 keys of online business, they're traffic, offer, conversion, and delivery, I'm going to tell you what I believe the best business model to start as a beginner is. And actually the entire funnel that you can use to start implementing today, the thing that I've started implementing in my own business. Okay. So I think by far, there's no question about it, the best thing that you can do right now is going through a community funnel. Okay. And the community funnel, it really depends on if you have an existing audience right now, or if you're a beginner with no audience. I don't have an audience, but I do have customers. So what my funnel looks like is I pretty much have traffic, and then I direct my traffic to my lead magnet, which is my free case study. By the way, go below in the description of this video, check out this free case study. It shows you the blueprint for how I launched a 6-figure community in 3 months. And then after that lead magnet, I actually guide people towards my free community. Okay. Right now, I'm in a phase of building out this community to be a really good resource for anybody who wants to learn how to manage communities, anybody who wants to learn how to build communities, anybody who wants to learn how to build community funnels. My audience goes into there. And then from the community, I actually have a CTA where you can sign up to work with me. So you can fill out an application, you can work with me one-on-one, and that is actually going to be my high ticket offer. Okay. And so really the key here is that you're giving more value at each level of the funnel. And it's really, really straightforward. And, I'm not going to say that this is just a well-oiled machine quite yet, but that is what I'm working towards. And I'm looking at each level of this funnel and I'm thinking to myself, okay, what needs to be better? How can it be more cohesive? How can I optimize it? And this is really what I do for my clients as well, right? Like because I don't have the traffic that my clients do, I actually have to have a different model than what a lot of my clients do. And because they already have this traffic, they don't necessarily need the specific conversion events that I'm using within my funnel, because they've already built up trust and loyalty over time. So what one of my clients did was he used traffic and we put them onto a lead magnet. This lead magnet was a 7-day email sequence. That 7-day email sequence was considered an email course. And at the end of that email course, we essentially had a series of emails that pitched the offer. And the offer was actually a mid-ticket cohort-based model. Okay. So this is essentially a live cohort where you get on Zoom, you present in front of 50 to 100 people, however many people sign up to your cohort, you record those videos, and then you repackage them and sell them at the end. And so this creates a lot of leverage because you're essentially creating an online course live to an existing audience, and you can just rinse and repeat the same thing over and over again and really refine the course while selling at, this mid-ticket price. We sold ours anywhere from $500 to $700. Okay. And this was extremely, extremely profitable for us. So the reason that I like community so much is because it is very easy to start a community on school.com. Okay. It is very, very easy to start a community on school.com. And in these school communities, you can give a ton of resources, including all these conversion events that I told you about. You can actually just host them on this platform. You can host all the conversion events on school.com. So if you funnel your traffic to school, you will then be you can provide a lead magnet. You can provide free course. You can provide conversion events. You can provide low ticket products. You can provide high ticket services. And you can funnel people into a community where they can see your entire product suite and they can pick and choose which offer they want to do with you. And, a lot of the times these low ticket products are actually serve as conversion events. And so somebody pays you for like a webinar, or somebody pays you for a event or a challenge. And in that challenge, you give them a little and you teach and you break their limiting beliefs. And you really teach them about the mechanism. You teach them about your way of thinking. And then at the end of them, you pitch them into your high ticket offer. Okay. And this is like a community ascension model. So at each level of the ladder, you have different offers. And what you're doing with this community is you're naturally ascending people up to your highest level to work with you. And that is why community is absolutely the best funnel that you can make today. Okay. So I hope you learned a little something from this. And if you like this video, then I would appreciate you liking it and commenting below what you liked learning about. And if you want to start your school community, go down below and click the link. You can literally start it for free for the first 14 days, and you can just test out the platform itself. It is freaking amazing. It's really good user interface. It's very simple to use. Anybody can use it. You can also join my school community and get in touch with me one-on-one. We can talk about how we could start your own. And be sure you like and subscribe to the channel as well, because I'm going to be putting out lots of more content like this. Thank you guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Woo!